I'm Arbor Kumse. Let's settle for the details now. In our first story, President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his resolve not to shield any public official found to be engaging in acts of corruption or malfeasance, but will ensure that the laws of the land are applied fully without fear or favor. The president said he is determined to stop the avoidable leakages to ensure money belonging to the state is used solely for developmental purposes. Nana Akufo-Addo was addressing Ghanaians resident in Sierra Leone as part of the third phase of his working visit to ECOWAS countries. He warned he will not listen to the pleas of relatives of those who come to beg on behalf of corrupt officials.
We are going to stop the leakages in our revenue system in Ghana. Some people have just been arrested at home in the customs area. The preliminary investigation suggests that they're responsible for 1.2 billion cedis of loss to the revenue just in the course of 6 months. 1.2 billion. And this is a small group of people within the system. You may be able to multiply that figure by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Multiplied by 10, you're talking about 10 billion cedis. And that money is going not into the government coffers, but into private pockets. Importers who evade duty because they split the duty to customs officials. We can't continue like that in Ghana. We cannot continue like that in Ghana. So we can stop the leakages. And I know that if we stop the leakages, we will have the money to do our own development. We're not going to be dependent on some people coming to say they're going to give us charity and grants and this and that. We will finance our own development ourselves. But we're going to have to all work together. And when people get caught up in the net, I'm imploring people. And I don't want to say, oh, no, wait a minute, I don't know. That's the problem in our place. People will come, they go speak to your wife. You get up in the morning and say, oh, this man is in trouble in this place. For one island. My wife is a gun, that's why I say I use this man. I'm not going to listen to that. Because my concern is Ghana.
Well, the president also revealed the office of the special prosecutor would be set up in the next half of this year after the legislation setting up the office is laid before Parliament.
The political appointee, and he brings a case against somebody, which has. So we're going to create an office of a special prosecutor who will not be a creature of the government, will be an independent person. And that person will have the power to decide who or who not to prosecute. So it will not be a Akufo-Addo, it's the law that is working. So these are the first 4 months. The prosecutors' legislation will be coming in the next meeting of Parliament, and hopefully by the second half of this year the office will be up and working and we get going. We want to turn a new page in our country.
Now let's stay on the issue of corruption because host of Adom FM's morning show, Captain Kwadwo Smart, will lead a demonstration Friday 26 May to protest the various acts of corruption perpetrated by civil and public officials in the country. Dubbed Fabe Woso Demo, it is expected to be attended by scores of Ghanaians, mainly listeners of Captain Smart's show, Drasun Sem. The demonstration is named after a segment of the show which focuses on unearthing corrupt activities among various government institutions. Perpetrators of the corrupt acts are named and shamed on the show as well. Other institutions expected to join the demonstration include Anti-Corruption Agency, Ghana Integrity Initiative, as well as USAID. Captain Smart has been speaking to Joy News' Komla Adam.
This nonsense, we've been in it for quite a long time. We can't take it any longer. And this nonsense must stop.
Okay, so what is the form of a demonstration going to be like? Are you going to submit a petition at the end of the day to an authority? Or?
Yes, we've used several documents on our show, Faber also. So what we're doing tomorrow is that we'll be presenting the documents to IOCO. We'll give them 90 days. After which, if we don't see or hear anything, we'll be going to the houses of those people that we know. We'll go and arrest them and take them to IOCO. It's as simple as ABC.
Who and who are you expecting at this demonstration?
Well, USAID are coming. Ghana Integrity Initiative, they're coming. Send Ghana. They'll be there. Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. They'll be there. The Muslim youth community are all coming. With a lot of pastors. Everybody is invited. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. The convention point is Obra Sport. And then from there, the police will be providing security for us until we get to IOCO.
Okay. Have you made any provision? Of course, you mentioned the police earlier. Has the police given you some assurances that they're going to offer maximum security on this?
Yes. We spoke to them on Monday, and then yesterday they called that they are sure the number that we're expecting would be more than that. So they will be providing at least not less than 50 police officers.
What's the average of the numbers we are expecting tomorrow?
Well, I can't tell. But initially it was a one-man demonstration. Then my producer said, let's open it up. So at least between 200, 300 people.
You are confident to get results at the end of the day?
We will get results, or we will provide the results.
Let's discuss this further. Joining us on the line now for more is Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Ofori-Kwafo. Many thanks for your time, Linda. Hello, good evening to you, Mrs. Ofori-Kwafo. Yes.
Good evening, everybody.
First of all, why did you decide to lend your support to this demonstration?
Thank you for the question. However, obviously, you know that the Ghana Integrity Initiative and our partners are focused in those countries to help minimize corruption. And so whatever means which is appropriate that is being adopted by any partner, I think it's only proper that we lend our support to such a cause, because we believe in using appropriate means, using rule of law processes in order to achieve our aim of helping to minimize the canker in the country. When you heard of the Adum FM peaceful walk and Ghana Integrity Initiative, Send Ghana and GACC, together we are implementing a USAID funded project called ADIS. And we actually try to get some solutions to such problems. So we decided to join the peaceful march tomorrow to go to the institutions that we have outlined, the OPOS to start with, to actually make our petition known to them, that we are not happy with what is going on in the country. We think that we have gotten to a stage that citizens have to come together and demand accountability for such institutions, that people who have wrongfully taken resources that belong to all of us must refund. Ghana is a signatory to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. And Ghana has actually, because we are signatory to the UNCTAD, we are supposed to implement measures like asset recovery and wealth recovery for people who have wrongfully taken such money. So if evidence has come to the fore that some public officials, politicians have actually acquired wealth illegally, then I think it's only proper that we actually lend our support to such institutions, the IOCO and the rest, to demand that these people pay back the money. I think we've gotten to a stage in our life that we should not tolerate impunity as far as corruption is concerned. If we continue going the way we are going, Ghana will continue to be very poor and will not be able to provide the basic necessities of life. It is for this purpose that we are joining the peaceful march tomorrow to go to the institutions and demand that at least do something about these issues. Let us see that you are committed to the fight against corruption.
And speaking about these corrupt acts, which you say have come to the fore, in recent times, the media has unearthed some of these stories, these acts of corruption by public officials. The Ghana Standards Authority issue, as well as the board members of the NCA, that matter comes to mind immediately. Do you think that the security agencies are living up to their mandates in that regard?
It actually depends, you know, because we are a country of rules and rule of law. Sometimes we always have to look at the approach to adopt. But then we have institutions in this country that also have that responsibility. Unfortunately, STRAC, for instance, cannot take up such matters because a ruling of the court of an issue, I think it's in relation to Anani's case, bars them from actually taking up some issue unless somebody reports to them before they can act from them. But there are a number of other institutions. Some of these things, when they come up, I think it's the state and the government in office to actually show us the way we are supposed to go. We know the AG is the chief advisor to the cabinet, government. So they should actually let us know which way will be the most appropriate means to follow these matters. Another thing that we also don't get in this country is that when some sort of investigations are ongoing, at least we, the citizen, we should be informed that these are the things that the government or the steps the government is taking to help resolve such matters. Otherwise, we don't know what is happening, and forever we'll be waiting if we don't speak about them. So I believe that we should call on government, the new government, to tell us what they're going to do about these matters that the media has unearthed. There's an extent to which our mandate or our capacities can take us. We don't have the powers to do any sort of investigations. The power lies with the government, and the government should be called to tell us what are you going to do with these matters that the media has unearthed. If the government is not able to do that, then we Ghanaians should actually start demanding some sort of accountability from the office of the president and the government as a whole, because we don't have the powers to do what they can do.
Pick your thoughts on this. You know, with regards to the NCA matter in which some board members were found to have, received some monies illegally, they are being made to pay back those monies into the state kitty. Although they received them illegally, government says it is not likely to prosecute them. What are your thoughts on this? Many say that they should be prosecuted because they have committed a crime.
You remember some time ago in the previous administration, we had a Minister of State resigning over the vast rebranding, and that was the end of the matter. Right. As much as we agree that Ghana should be able to recover monies wrongfully taken by public officials, it does not mean that any form of legal prosecution should not be executed against such people. I think we are doing something which does not serve as a deterrent for other people watching. Because if I can just take government money and see it happening all the time in the Public Accounts Committee's reviews and reports, we get to know people have taken billions and billions of state funds. Some of them actually go scot-free. Now we are getting into the era of just asking people to refund the money to state and then they will go scot-free. This is not a trend we should be supporting. There is something that should happen. It can actually even lead to if you have to tax people, or if you have to prosecute them. If they wrongfully took the money, then it's a crime. Corruption is a crime. Under our statute, Section 29 of the Criminal Offences Act makes corruption a crime. The moment you identify it as an act of corruption, then people cannot just refund money and go scot-free. And we are not in support with that approach. We want the money back. But please, we don't support people stealing our money and then we taking the money and letting them walk. This is not the kind of democracy that we are looking for, and we shouldn't tolerate that. All right. Many thanks so much for your time. And that's the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Linda Ofori-Kwafo there. She's joining the Fabewoso demonstration tomorrow, being led by Adom FM's Super Morning Show host, Captain Smart. We're taking a short break here. This is Joy News Prime. But still ahead, Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul says a report on the investigation into alleged involvement of the armed forces in illegal mining will soon be presented to the President.
Investigative process into the matter. It just happened that the Minister for Lands raised it publicly, but it was raised in Cabinet.
Details coming up. Don't go away. You're welcome back. Now, Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul says a report on the investigation into alleged involvement of the armed forces in illegal mining will soon be presented to the President. His assurance comes as Minister of Lands and Natural Resources John Peter Amewu earlier this week said some soldiers were providing security for illegal miners or galamsey operators. Mr. Nitiwul, however, told my colleague Manasseh Azuri-Awuni in the following interview that the matter had been raised by a different minister at a cabinet meeting and the President had directed an investigation into it.
We set up an investigative process into the matter. It just happened that the Minister for Lands raised it publicly, but it was raised in cabinet by a different minister. And the president himself is aware of what we are doing. We asked him to give us 1 week to do the investigation. I'm sure by the close of today, the president will know the outcome of our investigation, and then we'll get the public to know what exactly we have done. The Military High Command has actually brought me the results of their investigation into this very matter, and I will go and brief the president today on it, and from them I'll brief the nation on the outcome of what I have gathered. The Minerals Commission, the Military High Command, the Ghana Chamber of Mines, all these people are involved if you want to know exactly what will go into an investigation. So they are all part of the people who have been asked questions regarding this very matter. But I'll brief the president first. It will not be right for me to let the public know what has happened when the president himself is aware that we are doing something about it. So once I brief the president about the outcome, it will come out. We'll get the public to know what happened. But I say that there's no cause for alarm. If there is any soldier, if there is any member of the Ghana Armed Forces that is guiding illegal mining, what we call galamsey, there's a whole difference between legal mining and illegal mining. Legal mining is totally different. We have large scale and small scale. Then we have the illegal miners who are not licensed, who are mining on waterways, who are not supposed to mine where they're supposed to mine. If there's any soldier who's caught doing that, obviously I can say that he was not authorized. That soldier will be dealt with. I've already made that public comment, and I've tasked the CDS to investigate that very matter. Like I said, the report has come, so we'll deal with that. But I can assure you that if there is any soldier out there who has done that kind of act, that person will be dealt with. But let the result come out. We'll state our case, and then we'll move from there.
To the Eastern region now, where fear has gripped toll booth attendants on the Adome Bridge who are anxious for their safety. One of them, Solomon Akpabli Selom, escaped death narrowly following an accident which occurred at the Akwemufie end of the Adome Bridge in the Eastern region last Saturday. The accident is the second this year in which a vehicle has crossed the bridge and run into toll booths close to the bridge, raising safety concerns.
The previous incident saw a female attendant trapped in the booth when the vehicle knocked it out of position. According to Solomon Akpabli, he had to escape through the window when the trailer truck avoided crashing into a saloon car, and he became the target. The trailer then hit two concrete barriers, pushing them before hitting the container booth. From a distance, it was clear that some drivers were not aware of the accident, hence stopping to pay at the booth, which has not been in use since Saturday. Solomon Akpabli tells Joy News that the mere sight of the booth reminds him of how he could have lost his life, and has called for safety measures from Ghana Highway Authority and other relevant bodies.
Yeah, Saturday we were here around 5:30 when a trailer from Volta region, but after I served the driver finishing, it has wanted to leave, in a car from Volta region also trying to escape the tow, and the driver trying to save him, and he pushed the concrete together with the boots, and I have to jump through the window. I didn't know that I would have been hurt or maybe lose my life. Yeah, I'm afraid, because anytime I thought I come here, I don't know what is going to happen. Maybe the next time something like that is going to happen, maybe I may lose my soul or whatever. So I'm afraid. I think it would be better for the highways to put proper measures in place so that we can get a proper place for the boots.
Meanwhile, an eyewitness, Amobo Atema, said the situation could have been worse if a disabled, who is one of the attendants, was on duty, as escaping would have been next to impossible. She also appealed to highways to treat the impact of the accident with the urgency it deserves.
There
was a trailer at the toll booth ready to pay.
and a certain private car behind the trailer decided not to.
The
driver of the private car attempted to drive away. In trying to avoid the private car crashing into him, the driver of the trailer drove into the toll booth. The attendant working at the toll booth escaped safely.
There are those who are suggesting that Ghana Highway Authority and relevant bodies must build much more secured booths for the attendants. Kwame Yankes report for Joy News.
Now, a consortium of US-based health institutions is collaborating with local counterparts to improve respiratory health in Ghana. The partnership has already seen the training of professionals in respiratory therapy at the University of Ghana, while the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is set to take its turn. Ohim Interior reports from Kumasi.
Training of respiratory professionals is needed to manage acute heart and lung-related diseases. Only Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, out of Ghana's 5,354 health facilities, has a qualified respiratory therapist. The Center for Disease Control identifies respiratory disease as one of the world's leading cause of mortality, higher than malaria. A 22-member team from the Weber State University, Charity Beyond Borders, is currently in Ghana to discuss arrangements to extend respiratory care to underserved populations. Director of Clinical Education at Weber State University, Dr. Lisa Trujillo, who initiated the program in 2011, leads the team.
A very integral part of the healthcare team. Physicians are very busy and they have a high patient load, the same with nursing staff. And so with our specialization with cardiopulmonary diseases and disorders, we have a very concentrated education that gives us some specialization to be able to be at the bedside, recognize when patients are deteriorating, earlier interventions. Some of the skills that we learn, we're able to provide therapies and different things that maybe reduce length of stay, reduce cost. We know as care is delayed, cost goes up.
Chief Executive of Komfo Teaching Hospital, Dr. Joseph Apalu, says management is ready to partner KNUST and foreign collaborators to improve on respiratory care. Meanwhile, Charity Beyond Borders has donated assorted respiratory medical supplies worth thousands of dollars to CART. From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohim Interior reporting.
You're still watching Joy News here on Joy News Prime here on your multi-TV channel. Now, we're breaking for business. Don't go away. There are more stories ahead. You're welcome back, and it's time for business. Emmanuel Abuajiri joins me in the studio now. And Emmanuel, happy AU Day to you, first of all.
To you too.
And so I understand that you've been speaking to the French ambassador on how, as a continental body, we can strengthen ourselves and position ourselves better, as the EU has done.
We've come a long way, 54 years after the formation of the EU, and one of the ideals was to promote intra-regional trade. But we realized that 54 years after, we're still trading more with the Western world and other continents. So he is advising, or he's advocating, that we remove all trade barriers to enhance trade between us.
All right, will be interesting. Go ahead with the details.
Thank you very much, Araba. And the French ambassador to Ghana, Francois Pouyola, is calling on African economies to fast-track efforts at removing all trade barriers to promote intra-African trading. Speaking at a conference to mark the 54th AU Day anniversary at his residency in Accra, His Excellency Francois Pouyola charged African economies to urgently respond and adapt to the changing nature of trade across the sub-regional markets. There's more in this report.
Existing records show the level of trade among Africans themselves remain woefully inadequate, as many countries in Africa rather trade with the Western world and Asia, among others. The conference was attended by members of the diplomatic corps as well as 70 business executives from corporate Ghana and other African countries. French Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Francois Poujola, says the economic viability of Africa is best assured if all trade barriers are removed.
Doing business in the ECOWAS region means strengthening the economic exchanges and economic integration process in the sub-region. So I would say it's a diplomatic goal as well. We all can think of differences between countries of the West Africa, and those differences means also some hurdles that need to disappear to boost trade and investment in the sub-region. I would mention customs, I would mention linguistic barriers. I would also mention the fact that different currencies are used in the same sub-region, but opportunities are enormous.
Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chuma Kwabwa, outlined the available benefits and opportunities in Africa. He is confident of a unified African economy should the business community consider expanding their tentacles across the sub-region.
I think it's very important that as a business community or businesses in Ghana, we always have to explore various areas of opportunities, not just in Ghana, but within the ECOWAS. We are a strong believer in ECOWAS, and we strongly believe that if you take advantage of the market opportunities, you really do serious business.
The conference was organized as part of activities lined up to commemorate the 54th celebration of the African Union Day.
Former President John Agyeku Nkufuor is prevailing on investors across the globe to consider Ghana as a major business destination in Africa. According to him, Ghana is strategically positioned to afford them the opportunity to have easy access to the African market. He has been speaking ahead of the upcoming Aerospace Aviation Exhibition for Africa to be held in Ghana for the first time in October this year.
On the continent now, we have some countries that operate efficient airlines, like you can think of Ethiopia, you can talk of, to some extent, Kenya, but South Africa. But Ghana, even though we do not have a national airline now, Ghana has always been central. It's a crossroads for travelers, for airlines. And I believe this is why most of the European airlines fly here. It's a hub. Ghana is a hub. So you have people coming from the immediate region of West Africa flying here to take the airlines to, say, Europe, and from here to the Middle East, from here even across the ocean to the United States of America. So when with this crossroads factor, I believe Accra could stage an international air show, because it's not the fact that you own an airline that should make for the qualification to stage a show. The fact that all these companies fly here, all these airlines fly here, and they crisscross here, is what should make this place the market to stage a show. But more importantly, is the way our airports, Accra airports, is being developed. It's been developed to a point now. I believe it provides the services for safe aviation, safety of flow for airlines. They needn't be our own airlines. Any company coming from east, west, north, south would want to stop in a place like our airport for refueling and rechandling to make passengers comfortable.
Innovation and technology are gradually taking grounds in Ghana's banking sector, with many banks now effectively utilizing technology to make banking faster and easier for their customers. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Managing Director of Barclays Bank Ghana, Patience Achiano, said 70% of all Barclays banking services will be digitized by 2020.
Indeed, for us, our vision is by 2020 to see 70% of our banking being digital. and that, is very much in sync with the statement I made earlier, that there's focus on investing more and more on platforms that will make banking convenient to our customers.
Now, touching on the rift between mobile money operators and traditional banks, Patience Achanu said it is an opportunity to extend banking services to the large unbanked population in the country and should not be seen as a threat to the banking sector.
I think opportunity, because you just said 60 to 70% of our population is unbanked. And so if there are alternative modes of delivering financial intermediation to the unbanked, why should that be more of a threat than an opportunity? So our position is to partner with these telcos and other such institutions to be able to access what is glaringly an opportunity and bring on board as much as we can a lot of these into the formal banking sector, but also make available to them these alternatives.
Away from that, Trade and Industry Minister Carlos Ahenkorah has announced plans to set up factories in 10 districts in various regions of the country for the processing of soya beans into milk. This forms part of government's industrialization program under the One District, One Factory policy. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
Deputy Trades and Industry Minister Carlos Kingsley Ahenkorah says the project will provide jobs for the youth and reduce rural-urban migration. He spoke at the launch of the Enhanced Nutrition Value Chain in Ghana initiative by the World Food Programme.
That in line with the NVAT program, the government, through the rural REP, has established or is establishing 10 factories. 10 factories that are going to produce soya milk in 10 different districts. Beneficiary districts will be Gushegu, in the northern region, Zabzugu, in the northern region, Cape Coast, Ara, Asebu, Akamankasi, in the central region, Chiriponi, in the northern region, Kwame Danso, in the Sene West district, Adidome, in the Volta region, Winchi, in the Brown Ahafo region, Yakote, in the Nabdam, Upper East region, Chekrum, in Ejis Juabin, and of course Eremon in the Laura district. These factories, which are going to be commissioned in the next few months, are supposed to enhance the nutritional requirements of people living in these areas.
Mr. Ahenkorah says measures are in place to remove bottlenecks in the Ghanaian business environment.
The ministry is developing a national industrial revitalization program, an export development program, an industrial subcontracting exchange, and refining programs which will support small and medium-scale enterprises. We have already engaged with major players in the sector, such as the Registrar General's Department, the Lands Commission, Electricity Company of Ghana, the Ghana Water Company Limited, and the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, to reduce the bottlenecks associated with doing business in Ghana.
There are concerns about availability of raw materials for regular and efficient supply to feed the proposed factories. Government, however, indicates collaboration with private partners will address such worries. Here is Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Collins Intim.
In the coming weeks, the government of Ghana, through the Ministries of Local Government and Rural Development, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, will come up with a number of agricultural initiatives that will lay the foundation towards the establishment of a sustainable raw material base for the One District, One Factory concept. Each participating metropolitan, municipal, and district assembly will be required to come up with an agricultural project proposal that will support between 10,000 farmers and 20,000 farmers to to cultivate an average of 10 acres of an approved cash crop within the next 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, database of all the participating farmers and their farms and plantations will be established. In the process, several millions of jobs and business opportunities will be created. The environment will be enhanced. Food and cash crops will also be produced. This will endow and position all the districts strategically for the private sector participation.
For Joy Business, Prince Apia reporting.
And that's all by way of business tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi. Good evening.
You're welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, District Chief Executive nominees for Akachi North and Agoti-Meziope districts in the Volta region have finally been confirmed by their respective assemblies. Prince Sodoke Amuzu, nominee for Akachi North, and David Dixon Jokpe, nominee for Agoti-Meziope, were unable to poll the desired 2/3 of total votes cast in their first attempt at confirmation. The two have, however, been confirmed now, apparently following the intervention of the Volta Regional Minister and his deputy. Here's Fred Kwame Asara's report.
Speaking to the media after the overwhelming endorsement, Prince Sodoke Amuzu pledged to consult stakeholders to ensure all challenges in the districts are identified and resolved. He emphasized he would deliver on the development vision of President Akufo-Addo in the district.
As a president, I'm serving the interest of Mr. President. I'm also part of the vision of the president. And he has asked me to detail what he wants to do in this country. So I'm not on my own. I'm working under the instructions. As we speak, the vision of Mr. President, planting for food and jobs, is already being implemented. We are already distributing fertilizers and also crop produce, seeds for agriculture. As we speak, Mr. President has already carried the One District, One Warehouse to start. A lot of arrangement has already been started for the One District, One Factory. All of these are catching up, has not been left out. And so I think work is already in progress. And once I take it, I should be able to also make sure that this is implemented very quickly for the benefit of our people.
In Agoti-Meziope, the confirmed DCE, David Dixon Jokpe, outlined the improvement of access roads, education infrastructure, and expansion of potable water coverage as some of his immediate objectives. He added that they have earmarked the establishment of a tomato processing factory under the MPP government's One District, One Factory policy, while the Assembly supports the Kwetwe Community Kente Village Project initiative.
We have chosen the tomatoes factory to develop to the highest point, and equally we are already in the Kente industry. So we are taking those two projects, concurrently. We will ensure that Nana will do it on our behalf and everything will work. I targeted to do the market first for the women. Thereafter, I go onto the roads. The roads to my Agoti-Meziope, very, very bad. I will champion that cause for the first quarter of the year, and I'm sure I will achieve it.
The Deputy Volta Regional Minister Maxwell Blagoji assured of the Regional Coordinating Council support to facilitate development of both districts. Fred Kwame Asara's report for Joy News.
Now, staying on that issue, the people of the Upper West region are mounting pressure on the new municipal and district chief executives who took office barely 2 weeks ago. According to them, the overwhelming endorsement given to them by the various assemblies is a clear indication that the people are ready for development. The region is beset by several challenges, including poor road network, inadequate health and education facilities. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Now that the pouring of powder, pomp and pageantry are over, following the confirmation and swearing in of all municipal and district chief executives in the Upper West region, it is now time for real work. The people of the region expect nothing from the political appointees than improvement not only in their lives but in the roads, education and health sectors as well. The Upper West region, being the youngest region in the country, is not only underdeveloped but has majority of her people living in excruciating poverty. Another area the region is challenged is in the road sector. A little over 24% of its trunk roads are paved with bituminous surface. The Deputy Executive Director of a civil society organization, Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, CICOD, Daniel Bonoku, noted that the confirmation of all MDCs in the Upper West region show the region's readiness to put last year's polls behind them and move for development.
It's an indication that the people are yearning to see all the good things that have been promised them in the manifestos of the new government, to see fruition out of all of the things that have been promised. So, well, that is just the expectation, and I think that is the reason why everybody moved swiftly to endorse all the 11 district chief executives as soon as we can all observe.
The economy of the people of the region is mainly agrarian, with the people engaged in the cultivation of crops. However, they have no access roads to these farms to enable them carry the produce to their homes and to the market centers.
One of the problems we have in this country is the glut and scarcity of agricultural produce. You find some produce, a lot of it in the southern part where there's scarcity in the northern part. Today you go to Upper East, they push you are falling on watermelons. In the Upper West region, they sell watermelon for 30 cedis. Yes, it is really very critical, and we will expect to see government moving swiftly into that area, and especially that we have one of our own as Deputy Minister in charge of roads, Anthony Kabo, who is very familiar with the terrain and he knows what the situation is. We expect that a lot should happen in that area. I'm aware our development partners are also interested in that, but government must show leadership in this area.
Centers. Out of the 11 MDCs in the region, 2 are women. For acting Upper West Regional Director of the Department of Gender, Charity Boturi, she will have wished that the number is quadrupled.
If you're having 11 DCs and MC and then you have just 2 females, what they are going to say about an issue which has to do with women might not look of so much of importance to men. This is not to say all of them will not see the importance, but their approach will be different from how the men will look at it. So I think it will only be fair if we encourage women, more women to come on board. They know their issues. It's a women issue. They can tell it better. It's like we've been the actors in the stories, and then the men are writing the script for us. This time around, we want to write the script. The actors themselves want to write the script themselves.
That notwithstanding, she wants the due to get into their offices with a game plan.
You should always look at what is best for you and for the vulnerable in society, because as a woman, you are standing in for the vulnerable in society. And whom are we looking at? We are looking at women, we are looking at people with disability, we are looking at children. You become the voice for these voiceless in society.
Now, staff of Joy 99.7 FM, a member of the Multimedia Group family, have been putting their local language proficiency to use today to mark African Union Day. From the early morning programs until now, news anchors and presenters have been delivering programs in Akan and other Ghanaian languages. Here's a news report. Well, the fun continues on radio even as we speak, because the host of Joy FM's Drive Time show, Lexis Bale, is currently interviewing one of Ghana's popular local movie actors, Agrobeto, on the program's personality profile. Now, what's interesting about Agrobeto is that he's very proficient in Twi, but is he in English? Let's listen in.
They are all good.
Okay. Are you into politics?
Me? Over my dead body.
You not support any political party?
I vote.
But
I
would
don't
you
support,
openly,
yes,
you wouldn't openly declare support for any political party?
Yeah, because even when it read the time we are going for this thing, the election, I get call from NDC, I get call from MPP.
They want
to support the campaign.
They made you offers?
Come again?
They made you offer, money offer and all?
They said they need me. So I didn't go. If I go, then we can talk money or offer. But if I didn't go, because I don't want to go there.
Okay. So what's your take on your colleagues who do that?
Well, it's over to them. Everybody have a choice. Everybody have a choice. But me, I have decided I am both. I'm for NDC people. I'm for MPP people. Because the film we are making for Ghana. So, if I don't want to go to stand in one side, maybe I stand in NDC or I stand in MPP. If I stand in NDC, you should know that all the MPP people will come against me. Even if they are not against me, my lovers, I will shut the what do you call? I don't know how to say.
The fans.
I'll shut the fans. If I step on the MPP, take it the same thing, and people are going to hate me. So I have to be Middle East. I have to be Middle East and have all the fans. That's all.
Okay. Now, I know you're in follow politics, right? Yeah. Okay. What's your take on Nana Addo's government now?
Oh, he's doing well. He's doing well. And I can say the majority of Ghanaians vote for him. Even we haven't get that history in our we haven't get that vote in our history. It means people need change and they need Nana. And now now I've been office. Yes, we can right now until we finish.
What do you think is the most annoying thing happening in Ghana right now that you don't like?
Me?
Yeah.
I like everything.
There's no problem in Ghana for you?
I don't know.
And life is good for you, pa.
Look, Massa, so also by Ghana who are woo. It's me Ghana Jim from and non Kamajana. They met me na one more bra Ghana more brama woo. For two trim. So one more bra Ghana more brama. It's me for Ghana Jenny Kamajana. Mempa yen and say, or man yen transum be say. Nadia to be a team cover be okobia. Ekodini pa no samba. But what I say, very good. Mempa yen and say, yeah, Basabasa BNC or Manadia Tian, or be a team Kodini Paba. Asa. Now, apart from that, the day baby, me because you Ghana who's I day. Bra, me because you Ghana who mean to me for Ghana and Kobe because me cry am from me cast the credit my can be because of say one coach school. It immediately say, Yamem Juman Koso. Me to be more brother, me so my ember joy. The mini be told you, Asa.
Sir, or constituents, and a baby of your Mocasa Bejina for MP Obey.
Obi Wakan be a match, Mammy Achen.
I didn't see.
Obi Wakan me made the MP be a Miachin.
I didn't see.
Yes, the Yamedia Mamano, a social bibia. Talent in Yamedia Mammy. MP whom you know dimly care about maintain. President Humia, no, all to require me. Me what will MP say? MP or one got one amni to know. MP be a da one, me da, me the me quine. I feel good. MP be any order. Nempi Juman Kebedu or no as Marazine. This year Menko. I don't go on to a sonko. Massa, don't go there. I'm civilian. I like it. That's all.
Joy 99.5.
And that was what some people may describe as Tringlish. It's a mixture of Tree and English. So how do you think he did? I think he did just well. I'd rate him about 60%. Anyway. Now, today is AU Day, and leaders on the African continent are being urged to invest more in the youth as a way of reducing unemployment on the continent. The call, which was contained in the African Union chairman's message, comes as the AU marks 54 years since its inception. At a flag-raising ceremony in Accra to mark the day, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayokobotre, said African countries have more to do to give meaning to the AU's agenda.
The goal of African unity underpins relations between AU member states. Furthermore, our continued and relentless march towards integration should continue to provide the incentive for all African nations to overcome the intolerable contradiction between our abundant natural resources on one hand and the economic deprivation to which most African citizens have been subjected to over the past decades. Distinguished invited guests, on the occasion of the Golden Jubilee of the founding of the OAU, African leaders adopted a solemn declaration which clearly demonstrated the essence of our collective struggles for freedom, justice, and accountability. The leaders under the banner of Pan-Africanism of African Renaissance envisioned in that declaration a future for our continent that spoke meaningfully to the aspirations of our peoples. Permit me to remind us all of the agreed benchmarks critical to the achievement of those aspirations. These include inclusive growth and sustainable development, good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law, peace and security, including the solemn pledge to silence the guns by 2020, shared values and ethics, development that is people-driven, and Africa that is strong, united, resilient, and influential global player. The path towards the attainment of that vision has been outlined in AU's Agenda 2063, which was formally adopted in June 2015. It serves as the basis for Africa's integration and long-term socioeconomic transformation over a 50-year period. The first 10-year plan from 2013 to 2023 contains key accelerators of Africa's transformation. These accelerators have been described as the flagship projects and include an integrated high-speed train network, an African virtual and e-university, the Continental Free Trade Area, the Grand Inga Dam project that is projected to generate 43,200 megawatts of power, the Single African Air Transport Market, the African passport, and free movement of people. Even as technical negotiations proceed on the protocol that would govern the free movement of persons across the continent, Ghana has recently joined the ranks of the few African countries that have taken the bold step to issue visas on arrival to African citizens. We call on African nations to do likewise.
Now, the Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps in Ghana, Pavlin Tendai Mukasa, who read the AU chairman's speech, said it is imperative for African leaders to invest in the youth of the continent.
In economic terms, adoption of the Agenda 2063, which is, in quotes, I open quotes, both a vision and a plan of action, is a call to action to all segments of African society to work together to build a prosperous and united Africa, values-based common values and a common destiny, end of quote. In implementing this agenda and in its first 10-year plan, women and young people are key players. With regard to young people who are the main wealth of the continent, an important challenge must be met. That's why we have dedicated the year 2017 to the theme, open quotes, take full advantage of the demographic dividend by investing in youth, close of quote. In fact, Africa is the youngest region in the world. 2 out of 3 Africans are less than 25 years old. This indicator is a major asset to drive economic social transformation throughout the continent. Access of young people to health, quality education, their empowerment, combating youth unemployment is a significant response to poverty and their use by terrorist groups. It should be also to involve more significantly the actors of civil society in sensitizing the youth on the dangers posed by the radical speech.
All right, so you had the Dean of the African Corps, and that's Tendai Mukasa, I believe, and she was speaking on the need for African leaders to invest in the youth, seeing as unemployment is a major issue in many countries on the continent. We're taking a wrap up Joy News Prime, the AU edition of Joy News Prime. Thank you for staying with us throughout the day, and join us same time tomorrow. I'm Arba Kumson. From me and the rest of the team, have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.